All right, everyone. How are you doing today? Welcome. Um, I wanted to. I know there's been like other people been talking about this. I wanted to give my 2 cents when it comes to digital content versus physical media, and the reason why I have a particular stance on this is not that I'm completely against digital. I see a place for it, but I also like physical. Like when it comes to movies, music, um, video games, of course, things like that. So, obviously, there's an article here that is Ubisoft get comfortable with not owning your games. In a recent interview, Ubisoft director of subscriptions, Felipe Tremblay, I think that's how you say it, spoke at length about the state of our play in our increasingly digital global landscape. He laid out the present and future of streaming services, particularly covering the recent changes made to Ubisoft Plus service, which has undergone a slight rebrand. In his words, millions of users has flocked to Ubisoft's cloud-based streaming service since it launched, and there are expectations that the number of users adopting these subscription based models will swell as time goes on. He stressed that gamers should get comfortable with these services and that despite some users still cling on to physical games, a consumer shift needs to happen. It's not that a shift needs to happen, is that these companies are going to force it down everyone's throat. That's really what's going to come down to. And and I'll admit, I've bought physical games. I bought digital games. I do subscribe to Xbox Game Pass Ultimate. Um, I do um, I do subscribe to GeForce Now. I use it more to have access to like my Steam library if I want to stream stuff through the cloud. That's part of the reason why. But my stance when it comes to digital games, subscription services, and physical games is that when it comes to subscription services, I know, like with Xbox Game Pass, I am well aware I do not own any of it. I just have access to it. Once I stop paying for it, I lose access to it. That I completely understand. I use the service more to basically try out the games that I had never had any intentions of playing those games. And I think that's something I think that's something people needs to understand about that is because yes, you can have access to hundreds and hundreds of games, but it's not going to be one of those things where I'm going to have full access to all this stuff forever. No, you're going to have full access to it as long as either A, you keep paying for the service, or B, even if you're paying for the service, either the game gets delisted, taken off of the service, or if like Xbox one day is like, you know what, this is way too much money to upkeep this thing. We're just going to discontinue the service altogether, and then that's it. So I'll just say this: is that yes, I use Steam. Steam is a great service for PC gamers. It's top tier, best in class. However, I do understand that even though currently in 2024, as of this recording in January, that yes, the way Steam is implemented right now is really good. What happened if 6 months down the line, a year down the line, 5 years, 10 years down the line, say in the future, new management takes over Valve and they completely change everything how Steam works? We don't know. We don't know what will happen in the future. Maybe they continue on the exact same policies and business practices through Steam, but they could theoretically change how you have access to those games. Now, I'm going to be very careful on the kinds of words I'm using here because as I purchase digital licenses for games, that is allowing me to have access to those games. So there's a difference in the way I'm saying it. Now, people can like joke around like, oh, the Atari Jaguar sucks and all that. You know, it doesn't matter to me. The point is, I have the console. I have all the physical games for it. If I ever want to, I can literally just hook it up, grab one of the games from my shelf, pop it in, and that's it. You can say the same thing with NES, Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, Sega Dreamcast. You know, any system. If you have the physical game, you pop it in, turn it on, and you just start playing. It's not like these new games now where, you know, there's going to be online patches, online updates. If they have like online multiplayer, well, that mode is only as good as long as the servers are still up. You know, hell, the original version of Xbox Live back on the original Xbox, Microsoft technically shut that down. Yes, there is a group that basically came out with a new version of Xbox Live for the original Xbox. They can go online and play games, which is kind of cool when you think about it. But the platform holder, Microsoft, shut that down. You can say the same thing with Sony. They shut down the online functionalities of the PSP. Not yet with the PS3 or the Vita, though they were planning on shutting those down last year. And Nintendo, holy crap, they are notorious for trying to get everything shut down for the previous generation as quickly as possible. So, yeah, that's something you have to keep in mind. It's like, yeah, hell, I'm going to go out of a limb and even include Atari because, yes, they do have an Atari VCS. They can go on their website, buy the console, and buy games through their online store. Yes, even Atari has a digital storefront to buy games through that. And yes, if the service goes down, I'm pretty sure you're going to lose access to all that. Though in that case, you know, my particular VCS is set up as the home console, so it doesn't necessarily need to do like an online check to Atari for me to play the games, which is in 2024 now. It's actually kind of crazy to even mention Atari in a digital storefront. But it is. But hell, what happens if my Atari VCS craps out or like the OS craps out or something glitches out? I have to do like a factory reset on it for whatever reason. If the service goes down through Atari and I don't have access to re-download all those games, guess what? All of the games, and I bought like over, I want to say at this point about 30 games or so on my Atari VCS. If anything happens with that console, even though it's set up as a home console, if it's not able to communicate through Atari servers, I don't have access to even re-download those games anymore. Think about that. You can include Atari, Nintendo, Sony, Microsoft, hell, even Google, Apple. Google is a really good example right there. Is with Google Stadia. Remember that service? I even made a video about, you know, the service basically being crap, and, you know, a couple of like hardcore Stadia fans were like crapping on me about that. Yeah, there's no Google Stadia service anymore. Though at least Google was nice enough. They probably ran the numbers and it was probably cheaper just to give everyone's money back from that. versus just shutting everything down and a potential lawsuit coming from that, which is probably why they did that. But they essentially gave everyone's monies back that paid into the service, which is nice of them. But I'm pretty sure that was cheaper than a lawsuit. So, all in all, when it comes to digital purchases for either games, music, movies, I mean, hell, if you want to go down the movies route, Netflix, Apple TV Plus, Paramount Plus, basically any of the streaming services out there. Even the music services out there like YouTube Music, Apple Music, Spotify, Amazon Music, whatever. Whatever music streaming service you use. As long as you're paying money into the service, you're going to have access to those. But it doesn't necessarily mean you actually own them. And unfortunately, whether you like it or not, all of these companies are going to push digital down your throats. If you don't like it, it's like, you know what? I'll just say this. There are plenty of movies, there are plenty of music out there, and there's plenty of games out there that you can get physically, play them to your heart extent, and there's going to be so much out there that you don't even have to even worry about, oh, what's the newest thing out there? It's like, it's not going to matter. But all in all, for me personally, if there are games that I really, really do want physically, I'm going to get it physical if it's possible. If I do buy digital games, I will admit, but I do understand that if the day ever comes that I lose access to it, well, that sucks. I guess I don't have access to all that stuff anymore. But I mean, even with like I'll give you a little story. So, it was several years back. My YouTube channel got hacked. My Google account got hacked, and the 10 plus years of videos were gone just like that. And yes, I had to contact someone to help me get my account back. But here's the thing. It wasn't just... Why did my watch goes off? Anyway, it wasn't just my YouTube channel. I also used my Google account to store all of my pictures. So even though it's in the cloud, but because it's account based, if I don't have access to get to the account, then guess what? I don't have access to upload YouTube videos or, even download the videos that I upload to YouTube. I don't have access to any of the pictures, any of the files through Google Drive that I would have saved on there. I would not have access to any of that stuff because it's all in the cloud and it's all account based. So if anything happens with the account, I literally lose all of it. And that's the same thing if something happens with one of your game console accounts. You will lose access just like that of all the games, whether Steam, GOG, Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo, even Atari. I'm going to throw Atari in there because they do have a digital storefront. So just keep in mind that while I'm not completely against digital distribution, I do not like the idea of anything happening, even if your account gets banned. And I'm one of those people, I don't really want the government to be involved in anything because I just think they just suck at their jobs in general. Whether you're left or right, it does not matter. They all suck. But there needs to be some kind of law in place that if for whatever reason one of these companies is going to ban your account, they either have to allow you to have offline access to all the things you purchase, or if they do make the decision to just flat out ban your account and lose access to everything, at least at the bare minimum, give all your money back. Because it shouldn't be that, and yes, someone might say it's like, well, they broke terms and services. That's not always the case. I mean, hell, I have an ROG Ally, and for a while there's been an issue with Call of Duty, Modern Warfare 3, when that game came out. When you try to play that game on that handheld, for whatever reason, there is one of those custom softwares that Asus installs into the device, for that interface thing, that for whatever reason it triggers their anti-cheat system and automatically bans the account, even though they weren't trying to hack or anything. They were just trying to play the game online through the handheld, and the account would get banned. So there needs to be a safeguard for when situations comes up like that. If the company doesn't want you to have access to any of the stuff anymore or to the service anymore, then at the bare minimum, they should at least refund all the money you ever spent. And I'll just say this. If I ever became a politician, that would actually be a law that I would try to set foot. Because companies cannot allow you, or cannot be allowed to take people's money when it comes to digital content. And if, say, something happens with the account, or for whatever they think that they deem that they don't want you on the service anymore, all right, at the bare minimum, give them their money back. If you don't want them to support you, refund all the money they spent. But if you guys have a better idea, leave those comments down below. But, this is just one of those things that when it comes to digital distribution, yes, I understand it's very convenient and everything, but there are consequences if anything ever happens to your account. And you know what? I'll just say this too. I do not blame anyone if they want to pirate any of the games, or if they want to pirate music or movies, because even going down the movies route, there's plenty of movies out there that gotten physical releases but never came on to digital. There's literally nowhere you can find to watch those movies except a physical copy of a DVD, Blu-ray, 4K, VHS, whatever. Hell, if you want to even go further back, there's even versions of Star Wars, because LucasArts, for up until Disney bought them, always had a history of slightly modifying the movie for every single new release of the movie. And if you want to watch the original version when it came out in theaters, is basically either the original VHS or the Laserdisc version. But like a lot of the versions that came out after that were all slightly modified. But guess what? You cannot watch those on any streaming service. You cannot watch it on Disney Plus, Hulu, or anything like that, unless someone just happened to rip the movie somewhere and put it online somewhere. But that's pretty much it. So I'm not saying don't buy digital games. What I am saying is, every time you purchase a license or access to a game digitally, just understand that whatever happens with your online account for it whether is your account gets banned, you lose access to the account, or even the platform holder decides to turn the service off and you don't have access to any of that stuff anymore. Just understand that you're not going to get any of that stuff back. That's why, personally for me, when it comes to digital content, I am more okay doing the subscription route than buying the game outright. Because at least at that point, it's like, well, I'm just paying for a service. If I don't want to have the service anymore, no big deal. I just stop paying for it. And I just figure out something else to do. But I don't like the idea of me buying a license to a digital game outright and not have access to it for whatever reason in the future. So it is what it is. But I'll just say this. If more and more people stop supporting stuff like this, then these companies will have no choice but to continue on with releasing physical games. Now, out of the three major console players, Microsoft's obviously going to be the first one to do this because they basically have no other choice. But going back on the Xbox route, do you remember back in the Xbox One days, they came out with that Xbox One SAT edition, or, the Xbox One S all digital system? Yeah, that was basically an Xbox One S without the disc drive. Same case and everything, just didn't have the disc drive. They even removed the slot, so it was just all white in the front. But that was them testing the waters of an all digital system, and it seems like it sold enough that when the Xbox Series came out, you have the traditional Xbox One X, and then you got the cheaper digital version of the Xbox Series S. So, and PlayStation has the digital version, and I'm pretty sure maybe Nintendo will have an all digital version for a slight discount of $20. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see what happens with the successor to the Switch. But I can bet you all three major console players are looking at how do we get rid of physical. It's just going to be a matter of time. And at that point, either I'll just continue playing the older games or just do a subscription and that's it. But I know some people don't like the subscription side of things. I see a place for it. I don't look at it as a flat out replacement, because if times gets tough for me and I just need to try to penny pinch everywhere and just cancel every single subscription service, at the end of the day, I do have physical games that I can always just sit down and play. Worst case scenario. So, but I can say the same thing with music and movies. So I do have several movies and TV shows on DVD and Blu-ray for that reason. But like I said, if you're going to go digital, just understand that anything that can happen in the future with either your account or the service that you're paying for can just disappear like that. So just something to think about.